Monica Rajput. Welcome to the TMS podcast. And today we have Kostis with us, developer advocate at Octopus Deploy. So he has over 20 years of experience as a software engineer, developer advocate, technical writer, and lot many things. Hi Kostis, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. How's the life in Greece?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. Life in Greece right now, it's hot. The summer has started. Greece or Athens, I'm living in Athens, has a
Yeah.
similar weather like California, so it's super hot everywhere.
Yeah, it's super hot here in India as well. But it's great to have you here, and hope everyone will love this talk and the whole podcast. So, before jumping into the podcast, I would love to know uh, your journey, like how it started. What's the one thing that triggered in your childhood, like, oh, I wanted to be an engineer, or I wanted to just write a line of code? What's that one thing that trigger? Or before triggering that thing, what was you doing that time that you really wanted to do and you really enjoyed that time?
So, I've been working professionally for 20 years, as you said, but I'm one
Yeah.
of those people who had a computer at home even before, starting professionally. It's a usual story. My father worked with computers, and at some point, he brought a computer back home. And initially, I just played games. That's it. But then I wanted to know more about, how to create my own game or what is happening behind the scenes. So this is how I started going into computers in general. I don't think programming came that early.
Yeah.
I just asked my question, okay, what can I do with this machine? Like I can play a game, but can I do
Yeah.
something that I want? And then I started with programming.
That's so great because in my childhood, I really don't like computers and so, and I'm kind of a book person, so they never excites me. But it's great to hear that it started from the games and all. So as we can see, you have lot of experience. Yeah, technical writer and the architecture and analyst and the software engineer and now developer advocate. So how was your journey like in the industry?
So for this, and I think it's a great advice for everybody that is listening to
Yeah,
us. Initially, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I said, let's try everything. So
yeah,
during university, I studied computer science. I said, let's do something interesting, and I worked for a time on the PlayStation 3 processor. It was, 2007 when PlayStation 3 came out. So it was really low level stuff. I said, let's try, low level stuff, microprocessors, memory, the C programming language. And then I
yeah.
said, okay, that's great, but I want to try something else. So for my postgraduate degree, I left, the low level stuff. Then
So
I
it was,
went,
sorry to interrupt. So it was which year?
I think 2007, 2010,
Okay,
something like it.
okay,
So
okay.
I said, let's leave this low level stuff and try high level stuff. So I went
Yeah.
and tried the Scheme programming language, which is a dialect of the Lisp programming language, which is what people call the artificial intelligence back then. So really high level. And I did an exercise there, which today would be super simple with ChatGPT, but you imagine 20 years ago it wasn't that simple.
Yeah.
Um, where I took a mathematical proof and I created an English description for the mathematical proof. That was the exercise. So really high level. So I tried low level, I tried high level, and then I said, okay, I don't like low level, I don't like high level. Let's go in the middle. So I
Yeah.
started with Java, working with Java as an enterprise developer, and this was my first paying job,
Job.
like in the middle of the programming spectrum. So I left, memory and the microprocessors. I left artificial intelligence and scheme, and I went into enterprise software. So that answers the question for the programming start. But then the continuation is that as a developer and people that have worked, on big enterprise applications know this. Sometimes they tell you to create a new feature or to fix, bug, and it takes you maybe 2 hours to fix the bug. It's super fast, but then just testing the bug takes a lot of time, and not only testing what you fixed, but also making sure that you didn't break anything. And the bigger the application, the bigger the danger is, breaking something. People should know the story. You fix something, and then you break something else, and you fix something else, and then you break something else, and so on. So the company I was working at that time had an actual team of test engineers or testers where they would sit down and test the application for me. So maybe I would, create a feature for 2 hours, and then somebody should sit down for 6 hours to test everything in the application. And I was feeling sorry for that team. I think this is pretty boring. As humans, we should do stuff that is interesting, and manual testing is something that is super boring. So I said there must be a better way. And then this is how we got into the testing area and the automation area, that if you want to be a good developer, you should have also, first of all, tests, that verify that you didn't break anything, but also you should have a way of automating these tests. So ideally, I want, to write my feature and then press a magic button, and the magic button should tell me, I don't know, after 30 minutes, after 5 minutes, after 2 hours, I don't care, but hey, what you created is correct. And this is a cycle. Like, you need to have, tests for this verification, and you also need to have a way to automate these tests. If you don't have tests, you have a problem. If you have tests, but you haven't automated them, you have a problem. So it was the point in time where I realized that I was in a team, with great developers. Like, creating the feature was not a problem, but nobody was paying any attention to automation. So I took the initiative in the company. I said, let's build a testing suite, actually an automated test suite. So the company loved that. So after some time, I started spending maybe 50% of my time being a developer and 50% of my time creating automation and test suites. And it was at that point in time that I realized that this is what I want to do, automating stuff, because, this is a multiplier that helps other people. Like, if you're, creating a feature, it's only you that is learning. But if you create a great automation test suite, you help all the other developers in your team, create their features and help the company.
Yeah,
Any
that's
questions
something.
so far?
That's something, working, because really interesting. Like, I'm also doing some project in which we are, loading kind of the data, but how much data we have loaded, and if the system we have built is working or not. These are some of the questions that we really wanted to know, and this is, and testing comes here, and all the tests should be passed. So I'm totally agree with you. That's the main part, because sometimes we are like, okay, I have built something and I can see some data is loaded, right? But to see what kind of data, what kind of thing we have loaded into our DBs, that is very important to know, because at the end, it's not about you as an engineer, it's about the people who are using
Yeah,
that.
it's about the team. It's about the team. Actually, this is a great tip. This can be another separate discussion. So when you go to a company for an interview, at the end of the interview, the company asks you, hey, do you have any questions for us? And I think one of the questions that you should ask if you're a developer is, tell me what is your testing strategy and your automation strategy. And as a developer, okay, yeah, you have the best frameworks, you have the best space, the best machines, the best everything. But after I finish my feature, what do I actually do? And the correct answer should be, you do nothing. There is an automated test suite, and it will tell you, whatever you need to do. And I think this is applicable even today. Like, even if, if you write your code with AI and you do your feature in 5 minutes, how do you know it's correct? You need to do something to verify that what you did incorrect. And I'm not talking about, a simple project, like if you're creating a web page and you just click and you see the web page. But imagine you're applying AI to a big project. You also need to do something with testing. Yes, you can tell, AI to create the tests, but then you need to run them, to verify that they do what they are supposed to do.
Yeah, because whenever people tell me, oh, AI comes, now our job is on stake. But whenever I ask AI to do some research for me, and then I ask, okay, you have do some research on that topic that I have given you, but can you give me the proof? Is that research is correct or not? Then AI just give me links, some references, maybe if you have faced it or not.
And you
But
have to
that
check them.
links,
You have to check the links.
yeah, but sometimes that links doesn't exist, right?
Or
So
they exist and they say something similar or not exactly the same or
not
something else.
exactly the same. So that is very important. Okay, we have the AI, but we need some human logical thinking that okay, this is something right or wrong. We have to build that automation kind of thing that can ensure 100%, not the 99%, but 100%, because
Yeah, you need
that's the
100%.
whole, yeah, because the business is all about the 100%. They didn't
Pay
work
you for
on,
80%. They pay you for
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
So to come back to today, the time is let's say 2017. After working as a developer, and it is the time where I realized that there are many tutorials out there if you want to be a developer, like how to get started with a programming language. But there are not many tutorials on how to create a CI/CD pipeline, complete testing automation process,
right.
or how to combine a preview environments with something else. So I started in my free time writing the articles that I wanted to see just for me. And there was an important article that I wrote in 2017 where just for fun, I went at that point in time and looked at 10 CI companies, Travis, Circle CI, and several others. And I
Yeah,
did a comparison. Like I tried all of them, I signed up, I created an account, and I tried all of them with an example project to see what they did. Because as you can imagine, if you search, for a company, usually you find blogs by the company, and they say they are the best thing ever. Or you find some opinions in Reddit that they say, oh, we tried it and it works for us. Okay, but I wanted to see a real example. So I wrote a really big article comparing these companies, and I did this in my own free time. And I didn't
wow,
expect it at the time, but most of the companies contacted me. Like some of them, contacted me and said, hey, you're right, but you have forgotten this feature, or you're right, but your pricing information is wrong.
yeah,
Some of those said, wow, this is really amazing. You missed some of the features for our product. Let us give you a demo. Like, let us give you, a live demo of the things that you missed. And two or three of those companies said, hey, come and work for us. Come and work for us because you know the industry. So this was a major decision for me because essentially I decided to switch. And even though I was 9 to 5 a developer and in my own free time I was writing articles, I made the opposite. Now I was, a developer advocate writing articles 9 to 5. I joined one of those companies. The company I joined was Codefresh, and it was a CI company for Kubernetes. And when I joined, essentially, I found that it had the three things I wanted. I said to myself, I want to find a company that is either remote.
yeah.
Remember, this is 2017, before the COVID stuff.
That's
Either remote, or it deals with continuous integration because I like automation, or it deals with Kubernetes because it's the brand new thing that everybody likes. And Codefresh had all three, like it was a remote company for CI/CD on Kubernetes, and I joined. So that was the switch when I became a developer advocate, because I joined not as a developer, working on the product itself, but as a person explaining what the product does, explaining the capabilities, understanding the community, like talking with the community and understanding the problems they have, and then going back to the product team and saying, hey, this is what the people need. Maybe we should do it. And Codefresh was there for the last 7 years. And every time, the reason I stayed for so many years, it was because it was ahead of the game. Like when I joined, Codefresh said, hey, Docker is the next big thing. Instead of just adding support for Docker, we will create a company for Docker for day one. Remember, this is 2014 for the
wow.
company.
That's
Okay,
a
so
way ahead of thinking.
yeah,
Like,
Docker, I
it's
think the
something.
presentation for Docker was in 2013. So imagine somebody 1 year later that said, hey, we see Docker is the future, let's create a company around it. So the company was a CI product for Docker, just for Docker. And then when Kubernetes appeared, they said, okay, Kubernetes is the next big thing. We don't care about Docker Swarm or Marathon or Mesos or whatever. Let's go Kubernetes. Then when Helm appeared, they said, let's adopt Helm. And today they said, GitOps is the next big thing. Let's adopt Argo CD. And Codefresh was acquired last year by Octopus Deploy, which is another company in the CI/CD space, but it's a company mostly for VMs. So when they said, let's create the best CI/CD for Kubernetes, they said either we need to create it ourselves or buy a company that does this already. And this is where I am today in Octopus Deploy as a developer for Kubernetes CI/CD and Argo CD and GitOps.
Great. Like, the first thing will come here. So the first thing, as you said, you have write that blog and everything that changed after that. So for the audience, I think we can share with the audience, right? That
Yeah,
blog.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we will share that in the
it's not
comment.
secret, it's public. Like if you go into my profile, you will see it.
Yeah. So, and then you said like Codefresh is acquired by the Octopus, right? So, how was that experience like?
So I pasted this in the chat. You can find it later. Actually, things were pretty easy. You know, I've listened several times people talking about acquisitions, and they said the acquisition was a very hard process. Or the new company said, "Let's fire everybody and do something like that."
Yeah.
This didn't happen in our case. Essentially, Octopus saw the need for a CI/CD solution for Kubernetes, so it bought both the product and the people. So nothing really changed. You know, nobody was fired. For me specifically, things were even better because our team became bigger. Like at some point, it was just me and my manager at Codefresh. Now we have 5 people, and one of the things that changed is that now we also contribute to Argo CD. So Argo CD is one of the CNCF projects that is doing GitOps. The other one is Flax. And initially, Codefresh started as an enterprise product on top of Argo CD. Now we also contribute to Argo CD itself. And coming back to the work for a developer advocate, if you go to the Argo CD blog, some of the blog posts are written by me. So you know.
Yeah, and also I think you have also contributed to the Argo CD certification exam, right?
Yeah, that's another initiative. Okay, that's a great thing for the next discussion, but let me finish this one. So we contribute to Argo CD and we write the blog posts for the announcements and the major features. So if you want to know about what is coming next in Argo CD, sometimes the blog post that you're reading is written by me. I also cover the other Argo projects. You know, Argo is 4 projects. Argo CD might be one of the most popular ones, but there is also Argo Rollouts, which is progressive delivery, blue-green deployments, and I'm also involved there. Argo Workflows and Argo Events. I'm mostly involved with the first 2. So regarding the GitOps certification, this is also another area where I think it's important, you know, to be able to see the future. Like when GitOps appeared, people asked about, you know, what is GitOps? How do I use GitOps? What does this mean for my company? Or I already have these systems. Are they compatible with GitOps or not? And we realized that we're spending too much time talking about GitOps instead of actually employing GitOps. So we said, okay, let's help the people, like the community, to understand GitOps, but not just as a theory, also how it's involved with Argo CD. So back in 2020, we created the first GitOps certification course ever. It was the first one in the market. There wasn't anything else before that. And the magic thing about this certification was that instead of just theory or videos, it had actual labs. You launched Argo CD in your browser, so you could have any kind of laptop, any kind of operating system, it doesn't matter. And you had a real Kubernetes cluster in your browser, and you had the theory and then a practical exercise that you had to do. So you were working with Argo CD itself, like, not just an emulation or something else. So this was super popular. I've said this many times, but let's say this again. Initially, the certification was completely free because, we didn't want to make any money from this. And when we started it, we said, let's put a goal of 1,000 users. We would be happy if we get 1,000 users. And we launched it and we got 14,000 users.
Wow. That's
So,
great.
so this meant, that people were thirsty about GitOps knowledge. They wanted to learn about GitOps. And I want to make it clear that right now the certification has a minimum cost. I think it's just, $50. And the only reason is to cover the cloud costs because, we got so many people that it wasn't possible for the company to also pay for the cloud costs. So the amount of money that you pay for the certification essentially covers the cloud environment that you are using. We are not, making any money of the certification. We don't want to make money for the certifications. We are not in the certification business. We are in the GitOps business. We love to help people about GitOps. So that was...
sorry to interrupt. Can you just talk about like little bit, not too much, but GitOps? Like a lot of people, I don't think so have.
So the short answer is you should do the certification. That's the short answer.
No, we can more.
But the long answer is essentially GitOps is a practice, okay? It's not a specific application or specific platform. Argo CD is just a tool that implements GitOps. And essentially, it says, and there is a page called opengitops.dev where you can go and look at the definition. There is also a GitOps working group, and part of the working group is GitHub, Microsoft, Octopus Deploy, AWS, they are the big companies. GitOps is a choice that you make where you say, I want to use Git as the simple source of truth for my system. Like everything I have should be created in a declarative file and put in Git. And whenever somebody asks, what is deployed there? Where is this application? What is this environment? If you have the Git repo, you should know exactly what is in your environment. And you might think this is simple, but it's not, because several times, with other systems, you have in Git only the starting point, but then in your real system, something else is happening. Or you have, let's say, a classic example, you have your code somewhere or your settings in Git, you deploy them, and then a smart developer goes into the VM and, changes something. And they don't say something anywhere else. So now what you have in Git does not match what you have in the VM. So GitOps says, no, you should not do that. You should always have the same. So Argo CD is a GitOps tool for Kubernetes. And essentially, it works bi-directionally. It does the thing that you imagine. It takes your Kubernetes manifests from Git and applies them to the cluster. Okay, that's easy. But it also does the other way around. It compares the cluster to what you have in Git. So if a smart developer, goes to the cluster and changes something like a setting with a terminal, Argo CD will complain and it will say, hey, somebody make a change here. Okay. What do you want to do? And you can set it up and you can say either, hey, discard all the changes by the smart developer because you don't want them.
Yeah.
Or you can click a button and get a diff where you see what is in the cluster, what is in Git, and then you can make a choice. That's a 5-minute intro to GitOps.
Yeah, that's a great. Hope everyone will understand. And also, I really also wanted to do the GitOps certification or Argo CD one as well. So and one thing.
Started as level 1, which is, the easy one. There is also level 2 and level 3, which are more advanced ones. And after we did the certification, CNCF said, okay, let's have an official, GitOps certification. They came to us for advice because, we had the first certification. So you can also do the CNCF certification, but this is mostly theory. So my advice is, if you want to do both, like you can do the CNCF certification to learn about the theory of, GitOps in general, and then do the GitOps certification by Codefresh, which is specific, to Argo CD, and it's more practical. So you get, the best of both worlds.
Both of the world. Because I personally opt for the practical ones, because okay, you know the theory, but when you jump into the field, jump into the practical thing, then everything is changed. It's totally different from the theory, because you have your own errors and all, you have your own story to tell, what you have break. So for that, have you ever break something, uh, and any crazy story that really stuck in your mind and you just laugh, oh, what I have done?
Yeah, but, let me give some additional info for the certification. One of the things that we do is, when you start a lab, because of payment issues, the lab has a limited time. You have to be there for an hour. So I'm really, really happy when people are complaining. Okay, I'm happy when people are complaining, because they are complaining because they want more time in the lab. Because what happens is, they start the exercise, they do the exercise, but then they want to explore on their own, like see,
But
other stuff that is not on the exercise, and the lab shuts down and they are complaining. So I always consider this a good thing, because it means they want to learn and they want, to explore the environment on their own.
but I really wanted to know why we have this time, because in a lot of the lab kind of practical certification, I think we have for the GCP as well, right? So why we have that time? Because when I was used to do the lab exams, then it's like, okay, time is taking on and I have to complete the whole lab. So why this is? Can we remove that time and just
The time is only for the labs. There is no timer for the whole certification. You can
yeah,
do it on your own time, just times. First of all, it's pricing issue, like, for the VM, but
yeah,
also it's for abuse, because you can imagine, that some people might sign up and use the VM for a cryptocurrency, a crypto mining and crypto stuff. So there has to be a limit there. Otherwise, bad things will happen.
yeah. Okay,
Um,
now I understand. Yeah, if you will not give the time, then it's people will just ignore and take. People won't take very serious. So yeah, I agree with that.
But story time. Okay, story
Yeah.
time. So I think actually it's the first time I tell this in public, so you should feel honored. So I was working for a well-known company called Blizzard Entertainment. It's a gaming company with many games. The most obvious one is World of Warcraft, which is a very famous game that people were playing. And I was working as a back-end developer. Yay! And I was responsible for doing the deployments. And what happened there was a very simple change that I had to do, where the application was using a configuration file, like a plain file configuration file, and I had to change it to XML. That's it. That's the whole change. But that file was storing passwords. And as you know, passwords are stored, with an encrypted form.
Yeah.
So I made the change, everything worked. I did all my tests, everything worked. I did all the integration tests, everything worked. And I said, we are ready. Let's ship this to production. And I was confident that everybody would be happy and everything would work. Unfortunately, only in production, there was a single password that had a strange character, only production, where that character was not compatible with the XML format.
Oh my
So I
god.
deployed this in production, and that password happened to be a database password that now was wrong. So
Oh,
the database communication with the application just failed.
just fail.
So nobody could log in to play their games
Oh
in Blizzard
god.
Entertainment for, I think, 30 minutes, because
Yeah.
everybody was locked out. If you were already in the game, it was great. Okay, people that were playing already, it was fine. But if you wanted to get in and play your favorite game, you could not. And
You're
I was
blocked.
responsible for this. And actually, I was in California at that point in time, and my sister was in Greece playing the
Yeah.
games. And she messaged
Oh.
me and said, "Hey, what are you doing there? We cannot play our games." So I learned the news from my sister from a different continent. And then I saw people on Twitter, "Hey, Blizzard, what are you doing? We cannot play your games. Why
Oh
did you
my
do
god.
this?" And we fixed it. But it was pretty stressful.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Like your sister is also playing. Every news is on the Twitter. That's crazy.
Yeah, especially Blizzard.
Yeah, I really wanted to know like what happened after that, and how much time it takes to fix it, and who fix it.
This was an easy one. I think the systems were like you could not log in for 30 minutes, and then we made a release. I don't remember if I was the one who fixed it or it was somebody else, but you can imagine the most difficult thing was to understand that only in production there is that password that had that simple character. Because I had, several passwords in my unit tests and they worked just fine. So we're asking ourselves, what is the problem there? We had other issues where, the systems are down for 2 hours or 3 hours or more. There are other stories that I will not share here today because I was not, responsible for them. But I think it's important, for a company like this to have a way to understand what went wrong, like, to have an investigation, to have a document that does the analysis and said, we did this, we did this, we did this, that is the result. And the most important thing, how to prevent it for the next time. That's the most important thing, to improve the process and help. And I can speak, for first-hand experience that, nobody got fired and nobody, got any bad discussions. Everybody was saying, okay, we know what happened, let's help the person. And usually, I was happy because when something like this happened, at least in Blizzard, everybody jumped in to find the cause. Like, 5 or 6 people from different teams dropped down everything and said, let's investigate and see what happens. You can imagine that, it was on call rotation. So it wasn't a company where, you fear that if you did something wrong, things would be problematic for you. And the same thing, for my company today, like same for Octopus Deploy and for Codefresh. I think if you want to find a good company, you should find a company where you shouldn't break stuff, but if you break stuff, you shouldn't be afraid of breaking stuff.
Right. And that's a very good thing, right? Okay, when something breaks in your company or some software, that means your software really wants to improve. Because there's so many things that can happen in the future, and if you have done, maybe like you have just said, there should be some testing thing before just deploy in the environment everything is right or wrong. So that is I think very important to you are doing right or not in the production. And if something is great, then it's great. Let's improve it, right?
Yeah, actually, this is a great point for my next point. I pasted in the chat another blog of mine, which was pretty popular. It got in the first page of Hacker News. It's called Software Testing Anti-Patterns, and essentially tells you what not to do with software testing by telling you the opposite. Instead of giving you advice, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, it goes the other way and says, if you're doing this, you have a problem. If you're doing this, you have a problem. And one of the major points there is that any point in time where you find an issue in production, after you finish, with the fix, you should try to understand if you can create a test for that fix. So create a test, put it back, in your test suite, that now this thing will never break again. Because I speak, from first-hand experience in major companies, in big projects, you fix, something, and then if you don't pay attention, 3 months later, it breaks again. And 3 months later, it breaks again and again and again. And for me, this is, wasted time. You should just fix your issues once. And the best way to guarantee that they will be fixed only once is to create an integration test. So then afterwards, when any change is happening in the software, this particular use case is also checked. And I see a lot of companies that are not doing this. Like, they see a problem in production, they fix it. Maybe they say, okay, we are happy, and they never go back and add it in their test suite. And there is a great possibility that it will happen again. So enhance your test suite with those problems. And this also answers a question that I think most beginner developers have. They say, what should I test? Like, I don't know what to test. Where do I start? What do I do? Okay, if you don't, want to do something smart, just look at what is happening in your production system. Like every time, there is a problem in your production system, create a test. And after a while, you should have a test suite that essentially works like a history of all the problems you found in production in the last year. So this is a way, you improve your team, you improve the company, you improve the product, you improve yourself, and you also have the guarantee that next time, you hit the deploy button, you know that either it will work or you will see a brand new problem, something that you have never seen before, because everything else was, caught earlier by the testing suite.
Yeah. For this, I have one question in my mind. Like, you have a lot of experience doing this automation in every kind of situation and all. So, what is your favorite testing tool, or what's the automation thing you have built? What kind of technology you have used, and you really like, okay, enjoy working with that tool. So can you just name 2 3 tools that you really like?
I will not do that. So first of all, I've worked, with many technologies. I started as a Java developer, but I also did, some front end. Now I'm writing Golang. I don't think the tool is that important. Like, I can tell you I like JUnit or Spock. I've also
Yeah.
written a book for a testing framework in Java that I really love. It's called Spock. But when I wrote that book, essentially I didn't want to talk about the tool itself, but rather
Yeah.
than, the best practices with the
Yeah.
tool. So for me, if you tell me, what I like, I don't really like a specific tool. I like the capability that developers have to create preview environments with their feature. I think this is what's missing from a lot of companies. Like several times you see a developer and they write the feature, they run the unit tests, they run the integration test, they say, okay, everything works, and then they send to production. Okay, that's great. But you can also have a smart solution where it will create a preview environment for you. And usually that preview environment must be either a clone of production, similar to production, something
Yeah.
else. But this environment should be just for you. And I'm saying this because, again, several companies have a staging environment that is used by everybody. And this becomes a mess because you're testing, if you have 5 people using staging, either they will drop their own feature all at the same time, or you will have conflicts. So my ideal workflow is that as soon as you create a pull request as a developer,
Yeah.
yes, you will see unit tests, yes, you will see integration tests, security scans, code coverage, whatever tool, I don't care. But you will also get a nice URL as a comment in the pull request that says your feature is now deployed in this URL. Go and look at it. And you can test your feature there. Maybe you can send this URL to your friend or to your project manager or to your teammate, doesn't really matter. But this is just for you, okay? It contains only the feature that you want to create. And then if you merge the pull request or if you close, that environment is destroyed automatically, okay? So that's the idea. So you have, let's say, a weekend where nobody's working, you have 0 of those preview environments. But then, Monday comes and 5 developers go to work on a feature, then 5 preview environments are created, and each developer can see their own feature on their respective environment. Then they finish the work and they are destroyed. So that's my favorite practice. Preview environments that are created on the fly for you as a developer, and they have only your own feature, nothing else, like nothing else.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. It's like preview environment. That's a go for it. So, my last topic of discussion is as a developer advocate. So, what do you think this path is going where?
First of all, if you ask 100 people, what is the job of a developer advocate?
Yeah,
you will get 100 answers.
100 answers, right? Yeah.
So it should be, understandable that I'm giving you my personal opinion, and another person might, say other things about developer advocates. I will talk about 2 aspects. One, what I think in general, and I guess your second part of the question is what happens now with AI, or how things are going to change.
Yeah.
First of all, you only need a developer advocate after a certain growth. Like, if you're a company with 3 people, you don't really need a developer advocate. But if you're a company with 20 people, you need a developer advocate. Also, there are developer advocates in internal companies. Like if you have, a really big company, you have internal developer advocates. I think it's an important job because essentially it's a link between, what is happening outside the company and what is happening inside the company. Because a company might have, great developers that only work on their laptops, stay in the company, and they never know about what is happening in the outside world. Like they are creating a feature and they never actually see how the users are using the feature, like to get some feedback. Then maybe you have, I don't know, sales people or marketing people that they talk with people, but sometimes they don't have, the technical capacity to understand what is needed in order to build. So the developer advocate is somewhere in the middle where you need to have this magic combination of the ability to talk with people and understand what they want, but also the technical capacity to understand what can be done and what the product can do. And then, bring these two together. And for some companies, I'm not saying for every company, but especially for startups where you're trying, to find a product fit, you're trying to understand who is your community, like who is your user. I think it's really important to have somebody else. Now, if you ask me, if I know an oil company needs a developer advocate, no, they don't need a developer advocate, like they know what they're selling. But if you're trying to learn about your community, I think it's important to have one. Now, for the future, I think it's even more important because let's say, you have AI, what will happen? Everybody will create brand new projects in 5 minutes. Okay, that's great. But how do you get the feedback that what you created is actually useful, first of all, and also how you can improve it? Again, you need to talk with people.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it.
Yeah, and what I think it's more about the company needs someone who has decent technical knowledge and who can talk to customers in the tech knowledge, tech English or kind of that. So that is very important thing that every company needs.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the beginning before we started the stream that I prefer being a developer, if you ask me, but I found out that I am a mediocre developer. Like, there are many developers that are better than me, like they write better code, better features. But it's easier for me, to talk with people and translate what they say into technical requirements. And those better developers, sometimes they don't want, to talk with people. They just want to stay on their laptop and writing code. So this is like, for me, the magic recipe. Have the capacity, to bring both. The other role in the IT ecosystem that has this requirement is technical writer. Again, if you want to be a good technical writer, you need to master, the language, know how to write, talk with people to understand what needs to be written, and also have the technical capacity to understand what you're writing. So if you're a technical writer and you're thinking about a developer advocate, go for it. Or if you want to do it, the other way around, and know that the positions that require this are, super difficult to fill. Like it took me a lot of time to create my own team, like, to find other people that have this capacity of marrying the technical sector and the, let's say, writing / people sector.
Writing and speaking and all, right. And that's very kind of diverse role, and it depends on the company to company and the expertise area as well.
Yeah, I think it's also one of the roles where if you want, it's not for everybody. You can do different things. Like I speak regularly at KubeCon, at ArgoCon, like the conferences, or also go to events. So it depends, what I want to do. Maybe one day I want to write a blog. Another day I want to prepare a presentation. Another day I want to write some code or an example. It's different. Where when I was a developer, it was the same thing every day. Just writing code, which is great. But sometimes I want to do something else. So if you're feeling bored, in your job, you can be a developer advocate and also make, an agreement with your company and say, hey, I will spend 30% of my time writing code, and then 30% of my time writing blog posts, and then 30% of my time going to conferences.
Right. Yeah, that's I think great approach to do so, just to test where you stand and how you can explore the different kind of roles as well. So Yeah, that's great. And I think we have reached the time limit, and I think we can wrap it up. But I really wanted to not stop this conversation, but maybe in future we can do another podcast with you. But it's great talking to you, Kostis. And also to the audience, I will share all the links for the blog post that Kostis wrote. So hope you'll all enjoy it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. See you again.